Dooku, Darth Tyrannus, is the undisputed master of the second form of lightsaber combat by the time of the Clone Wars, with a seemingly invincible win record. But despite Dooku's high opinion of his preferred lightsaber form, there was a moment when he was forced to admit its greatest flaw. A shocking moment. Greetings, curious acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the archives. Makashi, also known as Form 2 lightsaber combat or the way of the Ysalamiri, is the duelist form as many well know. It is perfectly designed for saber-on-saber combat, and when it comes to a single duel, there is simply no better form than Makashi. But as many also know, there are two distinct weaknesses to this form. Firstly, it is designed for a single opponent and is weak when facing multiple enemies at once. Secondly, it is not optimized for blaster deflection. However, a true master of Makashi can make up for these weaknesses, as Dooku has done time and time again. We have seen Dooku be able to deflect blaster fire with the best of the saber wielders, and Dooku also knows how to isolate his opponents and take them out one by one if he is faced with several attackers. Just look at his duels with Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. However, there is one specific flaw in the Makashi style that Dooku was unable to compensate for, and in the end, it cost him his life. So today, my friends, we open up yet another holocron and analyze the thoughts of Dooku just mere moments before his death, so that we may analyze and discover the final fatal flaw of Makashi. The source we gather from today is the Revenge of the Sith novelization, where we get a view at the duel on the Invisible Hand through the eyes of Count Dooku firsthand. During this fight, Dooku had been tricked by Kenobi and Skywalker, who had actually fought with lightsaber forms that they were subpar at and were not their preferred styles, with Obi-Wan using a Taru and Anakin using Shien. They did this so that they would trick Dooku and lull him into a false sense of security and play on his arrogance, since they were the same forms that they had used against him on Geonosis, and forms that Dooku had subsequently dismantled with ease. This plan actually worked brilliantly, as Tyrannus was throwing them around easily and pretty much mocking them in his own mind. This wasn't until they suddenly changed to their true forms and fought so well that Dooku became terrified. We released a holocron recently talking about this scene where Obi-Wan had put real fear in Dooku for the first time, doing so by displaying his mastery of Form 3 Sarisu. But it was Anakin's use of Form 5 and its variant Gem So that actually forced Dooku into admitting the true weakness of his beloved Makashi. So now, let us read a few key lines from the novelization and analyze them in turn. Skywalker slammed his following strike down so hard that the shock of deflecting it buckled Dooku's elbows. The second strike bent Dooku's wrist. The third flash of blue forced Dooku's scarlet blade so far to the inside that his own lightsaber scorched his shoulder, and Dooku was forced to give ground. Skywalker came on, mechanically inexorable, impossibly powerful, a destroyer droid with a lightsaber. Each step a blow, and each blow a step. Dooku backed away as fast as he dared. Skywalker stayed right on top of him. He no longer tried to block Skywalker's strikes, but only to guide them slanting away. He could not meet Skywalker strength to strength. The boy was a Gem So stylist, and as fine of one as Dooku had ever seen. His own elegant Makashi simply did not generate the kinetic power to meet Gem So head to head. And there it is, Makashi has the ability to cut through almost any other lightsaber form. It is the direct counter to Shicho and Ataru, and can very easily take care of others if the skill of the Form 2 user is good enough. And that is what Form 2 specializes in, skill and skill alone. However, when it comes to the sheer power of Gem So, Makashi just doesn't have the kind of power to properly meet it head to head. You see, Makashi is much like fencing in that the users often move in a lateral way. The footwork of Makashi is usually front, back, and side to side, and they are often trained to walk along a cross pattern in order to properly lunge into an attack and then quickly retreat. They strike quick and fast like snakes, and can very elegantly maneuver around their opponent when need be. Aggressive and advancing strikes with Makashi rely on the pinpoint accurate blade work rather than physical might. As you see, the footwork and blade work complement each other in that way, and they are measured and balanced. However, with this in mind, it's now understandable how this kind of measured footwork doesn't exactly generate momentum. Let's analyze what Dooku said further. Each step a strike, and each strike a step. we can analyze how Anakin fights both in this duel as well as his duel with Kenobi on Mustafar. Skywalker is constantly moving forward. His blade motions and his footwork are completely lined up, but in a forward motion like a bulldozer. He doesn't stop moving forward even when he's defending. The power of Gemso allows the user to invade their opponent's space and force them into a retreat. Makashi has its defensive capabilities for sure, but with its more measured and balanced footwork, it's unable to properly generate the necessary momentum to actually meet Form 5. And this is how Anakin prevailed. Sarisu, interestingly, actually does generate momentum in its own right, as the defensive maneuvers are something that Form 3 practitioners drill themselves on constantly. Many Sarisu sequences work off of the user orbiting their lightsaber to project a field of total defense, an impenetrable wall. Combine this with more circular footwork, and Form 3 is fully capable of keeping up with Gemso. They fit together like perfect puzzle pieces, and this is why Kenobi was able to outlast Skywalker. But Makashi doesn't have these sequences, as it prefers accuracy over power. Not to mention, this is Anakin we are talking about. The amount of physical strength he has is almost impossible for a human, and that is augmented by the Force, which we all know that Anakin has an ample supply of, and we soon get to see the effects that this has on Dooku as the fight wears on. Let us continue. The shining blue lightsaber whirled and spat, and every overhand chop crashed against Dooku's defense with the unstoppable power of a meteor strike. The Sith Lord spent lavishly of his reserve of the Force merely to meet these attacks without being cut in half. And Skywalker was actually getting stronger. Each parry cost Dooku more power than he'd used to throw Kenobi across the room. Each block aged him a decade. The passage would go on to say that Dooku was spending so much Force energy to simply defend against Skywalker that he was actually losing his perception of the room around him, and his senses were beginning to dull. This was the effect that Anakin's Gemso was having on the aged Sith Lord. It was in this single terrifying moment that Dooku realized that he was simply not the best duelist anymore, or at least that the styles no longer matched. This single fatal flaw in his lightsaber form was quickly sapping away his strength, and in a way that he had never dealt with before. And soon, his energy would be drained so far that it left him open to having his hands dismembered. The duel was over. But anyway, my fellow acolytes, this is what Dooku admitted to be his style's greatest flaw. But tell us, what do you think about this information? Is it something that you were already aware of? Or did this humbling moment for Dooku, moments before his demise, shock you? Let us know your thoughts and insights in the comments down below. And if you like breakdowns from the novelization just as much as we do, reach out and smash that subscribe button. Until next time, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.